Hello everyone, welcome to our September SNDA meeting. Here's our guest speaker, Miss Brooke, and she's going to tell us all about her dietetics journey.
Hey everybody. So thank you for having me. First and foremost, Dr. McKinley. My name is Brooke Lowenkron. I have a master's of nutrition. I'm a registered dietitian, and I'm licensed. So today we're going to talk about decisions that you make now, decisions that you make moving forward in the near future, just in general, the decisions that you make as you move along in your career. There we go. Okay. So a little bit about me before I get started. I got my undergrad here at LSU. Graduated May 2020. I then went on to Fran U, did my internship there, and got my master's. Graduated December 2021, and took me a long time to pass the exam, about 6 months. But once I did, I eventually got my first job that I currently have right now at the Neuromedical Center Rehab Hospital. That's over there in Perkins Road. I've been there for about 15 months. I'm the food service manager, so I oversee about 8 employees, and then I'm also the only clinical dietitian over a 27-bed hospital. Also a land board member where Dr. McKinley serves as the president, and I'm the public policy coordinator. I'm also a wife and mom, circa 2016. So I have a little girl, she's 7, and another one in the oven right now. So, let me run into that. I already tripped over it, so it's loud too. Okay, so the importance of a mentor. So I like to just date back to whenever I first got here at LSU. I had done all of my prereqs, just general studies over at BRCC the first 60 hours. Then I got married and soon found out I was pregnant. So it was all a whirlwind, but yeah, so the day after I got married, I did my orientation first day at LSU, got here, had no idea what I was doing, and made relatively good grades over at BRCC, but I felt like a very small fish in a very big pond whenever I got here at LSU. Didn't know what I was doing, I just had the mentality of C's, get degrees, and took it from there. Started taking classes just as they came at me. Okay, I'll register for this one because that's what it says online to take, things like that. So I'm a second semester sophomore at this point. I take a class with Dr. McKinley and eventually find out, holy crap, I need to take, do all these volunteer hours. I need to build up a resume so that internships are actually going to want me. I have to not only make C's, because unfortunately, I don't know if it's still the case, but whenever I was here, you could get D's in all of your science classes and still move your way forward. But they don't tell you is even if you're making C's or D's, like some of my friends were, I thought it was C's. So if I had known that it was D's, maybe I would have just been like, all I need was a D, but I thought it was C's. But unfortunately, they don't tell you that internships are going to look at that. They're going to look at your GPA and they're going to say, that's not going to cut it for me. I'm going to give it to somebody else who tried much harder, who has a better GPA, has more on their resume, whatever the case may be. So I found that out really late in the game. I'm almost a junior at this point, and I'm taking this class, and I'm thinking, I'll never forget the day that I sat down with my husband in the living room, and I'm like, I chose the wrong degree. I need to switch to something else because I'm too far into this game to be able to change my direction and change the way that I've kind of already been doing things. I have way too many C's on my transcript. Nobody's going to take me. I'm done for. So we had that big long talk, and he said, well, talk to Dr. McKinley, see what you can do to revive yourself. You're kind of already taking a lot of these nutrition classes, things like that. So I started out almost a junior with nothing on my resume and whole lot of C's. So it's not over until you decide it's over. So if at first you don't succeed, you just have to, from my experience, is just dust yourself off, and you have to try again and not be your worst critic and say, okay, well, if I've made such and such mistake, I've gone this far, I'm just gonna have to call it quits. It's over for me. I'll never be that person that they want me to be. So what I did was I decided, okay, I'm inspired. Let me try to pick myself up and do what I can to make this better for me, make myself more attractive for internships moving forward. So I'll never forget whenever I said, let me just run for this chair position and try to get something on my resume. I'm sitting in my metabolism class and the results come in. The girl who I was running against, who was much more qualified, she had all her friends on the board already. The results come in during that class and she's in there too with all the board members, and they're like all celebrating, and I'm just sitting here like, man, what a fool I am. I should have just gone ahead, and I'm taking this hard metabolism class. I feel like such a loser at this point. I just need to, what am I gonna do at this point? I was feeling really low on myself at that time, and I decided, no, I'm not gonna just stop here. It's just one loss. I'm just gonna keep going. She won fair and square. So I ended up I got in touch with the secretary of the board for SNDA, and I said, can I hold more than one chair position? Because there was multiple positions open. They were just small, kind of, seasonal type positions. The brand board member, the SNDA brand board member, the Thanksgiving baskets chair. Those are all very seasonal, but then I also got the agriculture liaison position. And so I ended up just hitting the ground running, and Dr. McKinley allowed me to get all these chair positions all at once. So that's 5 in the books right there, just by offering my services and saying, hey, let me be of service to you guys. So she let me do that. I ended up doing Dr. McKinley wanted me to make sure that I told you guys that I ended up being the first person, the OG for the hay bale. She calls it the monster that I created in her, because that was my way of not only trying to obviously impress her to like, hey, I can do this, I am worth something, give me a shot. So I went home and I made all of those little cardboard cutouts, and we ended up winning. So it was a huge, awesome experience for me, not only, but it was something bigger than myself that just made me feel important, valued, and like I can do this. It's not over just yet. And so then I kept going. I had those 5 chair positions, ended up doing the Easter baskets, the Thanksgiving baskets, and got a couple of friends involved with me. So it was really rewarding, that at the same time it made me feel like I could actually, come back from something that I really didn't think that I could come back from.
We did those Easter baskets in my living room during COVID.
Yeah, during COVID.
Up on those kids.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. And that was a really hard venture in itself, just to figure out who would take these baskets. It was just like people were shunning me. I had to call like 20 different places. There were some sketchy churches who were like, yeah, I'll take it. Then it comes to find out they were on the news for some like serious allegations against them and the church. And I was like, oh, maybe not. That's not going to be a good reflection of us at LSU. So for some reason at that time, I emailed Dr. McKinley. I'm like, look, I'm having a really hard time getting somebody to take these baskets, but maybe it was because of the COVID situation. We don't want your stuff, even if it's sealed, whatever. So that was tough, but it was all right. It was fun. So after all of those chair positions, really proving myself, somehow, some way, y'all, I ended up getting a campus-wide award for emerging leader. And I can remember sitting in my kitchen, reading the results and seeing that there was like 8 or 9 nominees for this award campus-wide. And I'm thinking to myself, how in the world did I deserve this more than anybody else? But imposter syndrome is so real. Like, eventually I realized, whoever was the judge of that, they decided that I did deserve it, and that I ended up winning this awesome award. So I, laced up my bootstraps, and I decided that this was something that I wanted to pursue and put all my heart into it, and so it paid off in the end. Ended up winning this awesome award. And it's not just something that, I'm so great, I feel so good about myself because I tried so hard. It made me feel like it was like a catalyst in my life to say, moving forward, I'm not only gonna get into an internship, but I'm gonna try to continue this and be a leader for whoever is willing to listen to me, whoever needs to hear that they're worth something more than what they thought. So once I got to, kind of stole this quote from Dr. McKinley's office, even though I noticed earlier that it's a little bit different, but life's a marathon, not a sprint. I'm the type of person who definitely gravitates towards just get it all done, get it done now because it's urgent, and everything feels urgent whenever, especially when I was at LSU. Probably the most stressed I was, other than when I was doing 40 hours on campus, simultaneously getting my master's. This was one of the most stressful times of my life, was at LSU, being in Middleton, cracked out in the library until like 3 a.m., trying to figure out how I was gonna pass all these exams and whatnot. But it really is just something that you have to take one step at a time. Then once I got to my internship, it was very similar, but I ended up getting elected as class president. What you do is you kind of just build upon what you've accomplished in the past, and people really do, you know, they want to listen to what you have to say as long as you can back up what you have to say. So ended up being elected, and that was very much so an honor for me to be given that privilege in a cohort of 14. And then I became the first published author for the dietetic internship at FRANU. They're relatively new. They've been around for, I think, maybe 5 or 6 years, but ended up winning several awards and scholarships. I think the next page, yeah. So I'll stop here and I'll say my struggles did not end there, because once I finished my internship, everything sounds like, wow, Brooke just really got it together. So not so much. Once I finished my internship, I had to take that exam, right? That big, beefy, long, hard exam. So like I said, I really stressed myself out. I can be my worst enemy, and started studying for this exam. I'm at home by myself. I don't do well by myself. Probably was the first mistake I made, but everybody was passing all around me, right? Keep in mind, I'm the class president, so I put more pressure on myself. I have to pass the first time, or else it's gonna be embarrassing, right? That I couldn't pass it, and everybody else around me was already taking it in February. We graduated in December. They were taking it, 30 days, 60 days out. And I'm like, oh no, I'm not ready. So it took me 3 months just to take it the first time. I failed it by, I think, 2 points. And then had to wait another 45 days. That was just absolutely devastating for me, because everybody else that I knew so far who had taken it passed it the first time. And then while I'm sitting there waiting on my probational period of 45 days, more people are passing it from my cohort. Seemed like just about everybody except for maybe 3 had already passed it. And finally got to take it again. I failed it again. So I failed it that time by 1 point. And at that point I told Dr. McKinley, I just want to die right now. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't think I can pass this thing. So what I did was, for the 3rd time, I ended up going to the beach, relaxing with my family. I did not worry so much about studying, because at that point I had studied myself to death and worried myself way too much about I got so much test anxiety just by overdoing everything. So I did not study a whole lot my 3rd attempt, and I went in there and just kind of reviewed some of my note cards right before, a few days before, and walked in, and I ended up getting a 26. So, and I'm so proud of that 26, y'all. Like, I posted it on social media. People will blur out no hate on them, but people will blur out their scores. I'm like, that's my 26. I got a 26, and I'm so proud of it, even if it is like a 25 that you need. So be proud of your score. That's all. That's some of my advice that I would have to say to you. And don't be your worst critic either. Just study, you know this, and take some deep breaths and go for it, because it's not worth the agony of taking it 3 times like I did. Okay, so now let's talk about this part that I really want to talk about. So, applying for jobs. Once you get there to that point, you're ready to apply for a job, you have your credentials. Here we go, it's time to get your dream job, right? Because everybody always asks us, what's your dream job in dietetics? And whatever the case may be, once you get there, first thing I want to say is most professionals do not just absolutely love waking up in the morning, leaving their comfy beds and their comfy clothes, and leaving to go to their jobs. It's not like this is what I love doing more than sitting at home and watching Netflix and watching my favorite series. Of course not, it's not going to be like that, but it doesn't have to be miserable either. So that's just a piece of advice that I have, knowing that not everything is going to be exactly what it seemed like. You may not like your coworker or whatever, but making the most of it is definitely what I would recommend, especially for your first job. Don't marry the first guy you meet. So what that means to me is, once you get into the job and you're searching, you don't have to take the very first job that offers you something. If they're offering you, hey, I can offer you such and such amount of money, but I can't offer you health benefits, like you might want to just try a couple other places. From my perspective right now, a lot of places are hiring. If you want to know numbers, I have numbers for you, because I've been applying pretty much everywhere just to see. At my current position, you can't move up. You just stay where you're at. You're stagnant. I wanna climb somewhere. I don't want to just stay in the same spot. Been there about 15 months, so it's time for me to make a change. So I have been looking high and low everywhere you can imagine. I would not accept $22 an hour if I were you guys. I would not accept no health benefits, and that's just the lowest that I've been offered recently. Even as a dietitian for the last almost year and a half, I've been offered $22 an hour, and that cannot offer you any more than that. So hospital setting, I've also been offered recently $24 an hour. I wouldn't say yes to that either. And they're very firm on their prices, on their, well, that's how much we're capped at for this job. We're worth more than that, and the second that somebody, I'll just stick to this one because I want to say this part too. But the second that somebody says yes, then that's whenever the employer says, that's how much the dietitians are worth then, because this person is willing to say yes to this amount, to $22 an hour. That's not enough to, unless you have a husband who's like, or a wife who's making a lot, then that's just not enough to sustain yourself, not in this economy. So know your worth down to the scrub color. I put that in there because whenever I got into my first job and I accepted, they wanted me to wear the same color as the food service workers. So mind you, we just went through 6 years of school and a really hard exam, and they want me to wear the same color as somebody who can get this job at 16 years old. So they don't even have to have a GED. So I said to my boss, I said, I don't like that can I please wear something different scrub color to represent, to distinguish me from the food service workers. And he said, so I showed him a couple of scrub colors that I had picked out that I knew were not taken by any of the other medical professionals. So he was agreeable, and he said, yeah, whichever one you choose, as I brought him a solution to the issue that I had, identified. So I wear that scrub color rather than the purple. And so just being an advocate for yourself too, and knowing and identifying, hey, I'm worth more than that. So just being your own advocate is really important. Do some research, know how much you have in mind that's, going to be what you are, what's ideal for you and your family, your situation. In particular, if you're, okay with not taking health benefits because you have it elsewhere, I'll say once I got out of school and I was on my dad's health insurance until 26, and then it was really important for me to have health insurance after I, was 26. So that's a ticking time bomb right there. But if you have other means of getting health insurance, then that's, fine. That's your situation. Most people do need to acquire their own health insurance. So just be mindful and sit down with yourself. You don't have to say yes right away. And contrary to what it may seem like, you can counter offer and say, hey, instead of $22 an hour, I'd really like to make it $26 an hour, and see if they'd be willing to meet you in the middle. So I said this earlier, but as soon as one says yes to less, then we're all kind of connected in that way, in that sense of our overall worth is interconnected towards each other in the eyes of a local employer. So let's collectively set the standard higher. So it all starts with us. I've been saying no a lot, so if we could all just start saying no, maybe, just maybe, we can crack HR into saying dietitians are worth just as much as nurses are. I'll say where I work, nurses make $30 an hour. It's more than they're paying me. So I've been advocating recently for that. I know that they make more than me, and we need to start doing something about it because we're just as important to the interdisciplinary team. One somewhat exciting thing, now this is phone calls. There's a very big difference between phone calls and a paper trail, an email, something like that. A phone conversation that you have with an employer or hiring manager really is just, it's kind of like a handshake type situation. It's not on paper. So I take it at face value, but it's still nonetheless exciting to me to hear something other than, no, that's our cap, sorry. So Pennington said, no, we can't offer you any more than such amount of money. I want to say it was in the 50s. And they said, but however, we're looking into creating a new job position because we want you to be here that pays you the amount that you're looking to make. So that was about a week ago. Haven't heard a phone call back, but I was told by hiring manager that she's looking into that and she's in the middle of creating a new job position. So to me, that's just one small step forward in the right direction to where we kind of all want to be. So that was exciting. So does anybody have any questions? I'll stand up.
Would you say like the RD exam, like just because you don't pass the first time, like do you feel like it's affected your career at all, or just like you're fine?
No, really not at all. I mean, I really do think that if I had passed it the first or second time, I'd be in a different job right now. But that's because I was looking into a certain job position. I had convinced myself that I couldn't get that job anymore, or that I really just wasn't worthy of it, I guess. I got in my head. And so I took the other job that I thought was smaller and more so going to be more sustainable for me. So they were willing to, after I failed it the second time, they were waiting for me to pass too. And they had kind of given me their offer already in anticipation of me passing. I failed it, so I'm like on the ground crying, y'all, in my car. I'm like, oh my God, I lost all my job offers. I had 2, and now they're gone, and it's all my fault. But Neuromedical was like, no, we'll wait for you. So they waited another 45 days. I offered them a provisional license. Somebody was willing to, let me ride on their license while I completed the third time. But they just said, no, just go ahead and pass your exam and we'll wait for you to become official. So they did wait for me. So I didn't feel like too, restless about that because of that reassurance that I was given. But and a lot of times they will wait for you if they feel like, that's what you're what they want. But it was definitely a situation where I felt like this is awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's terrifying.
Did you see, like in a lot of the people in your cohort and yourself as well, like that you had a job lined up and they were just waiting on you to pass? Is that often? Or was that just kind of something that you had stumbled upon? A little bit of both.
I can't, because they passed, a lot of my fellow cohort members passed so soon, so quickly. I never heard anybody say or mention any of their, hey, guess what, this great, accomplishment that I had. They never shared that with me. But I do want to, also say that they passed so quickly that maybe they didn't have that opportunity to even have somebody wait on them.
Yeah.
Like somebody needed to wait on me, if that makes sense. So I'm not sure, but I know there's a couple of people who, out of the cohort of 14, who didn't end up passing at all, and so they went in a different direction. But that's pretty rare. I mean, so I wouldn't don't let it stress you out too much, because look at what happened to me. I'm like a prime example of what happens whenever you stress yourself out too much. But yeah, it is a toughie.
The person she's referring to that went a different direction is financially independent, so she can do whatever she wants. She decided to build a
Is she?
business.
Yeah. I think there was like 2 people who passed after me. I don't think that anybody else passed. Like, it was 12 or 11 passed before me that I passed, and two more were left, but only one passed. She had to take it 3 times too, and then the other one didn't end up going in the direction of dietetics. But she seems very happy. I just spoke with her the other day. She's gonna give me a tour of the university she works at. Yeah. What year are you guys? Oh, a bunch of seniors in here?
Yeah.
Oh, you all got your resumes and all that? Awesome. Can they set you all up?
Yeah, she got us right.
She'll make sure of it. Alright. Let me know if you guys have any questions. My contact's up there. Thanks for having me.
Thanks.
Yeah.
This is from our
Oh.
vice president.
Well, thank you. Awesome. Thank you guys.
Thank you for coming. We appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me. Y'all do Canva too?
I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
We do. Alright guys, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, everyone, if you haven't paid your membership dues, don't forget to pay them. You can either pay by check or Venmo or cash, whichever you prefer, but it's gonna be $10 for the fall, and then if you wanna just pay for the full year, it'll be $20. But yeah, don't forget to do that. Hazing training is due October 1st, so if you haven't gotten your certificate yet, please do. It's through Prevent Zone. It is a little bit longer than the Moodle course, in my opinion, but email your certificate to SNDA.
That might be an issue, so I haven't gotten it.
It might be.
It's SDA at LSU.
Okay, SDA.
Or you just email me.
Just email Dr. McKinley. Alright, peer mentoring. So, these are the forms. They'll also be sent in the email that Allison's going to send later on after the meeting. Brand is having Taco Tuesday at Rock Paper Taco tomorrow night from 5 to 7. This is a good way to network. I think Allison and Katie, are we going?
Well, I want to go.
Yeah. I think we should
We
go.
could go. I just have to leave at like 5:45.
Dr. McKinley, if you're over 21, will buy you a drink. She just said.
Oh.
She said you'll buy me a drink.
I'm in.
I'll be there.
Yeah, help me make the menu. I work there, but I won't be there. But if after everybody's like the event is over, they scheduled me at our sister store Olive or Twist, if you know where that's at, it's literally right behind.
Yeah, after party.
Oh my gosh, after party? Okay. And then Bland's annual conference we're planning it, but it's gonna be online this year. So if you'd like to help, please email Dr. McKinley, get some volunteer hours. Alright. And then for the peer mentoring program, we do have an ice cream social, so if you're not sure if you wanna join yet, that's gonna be this Thursday, and it's gonna be in the Nap Hall Lounge. So please RSVP so we know how much supplies to get. And if you have any questions, email Hannah. Alright, and then ASA is having a pumpkin painting in the Blake Hall green space. So if you'd like to go to that, you can. Meet some other people in the college bag. Volunteer opportunities. Hit 'em with that.
I'm Cameron. I'm the community outreach co-chair. We also have Ivana, who's the other co-chair. We wanted to put these slides together just to talk about what we've been promoting. Because I know the first 2 volunteer programs got kind of confused with the links on Instagram. So St. Vincent, the link is in the caption. And then for BR General, I commented the link for that one to sign up. And both of them are also in the link tree on Instagram. So if you want to get something that way. And St. Vincent, they have a lot of different opportunities for y'all to sign up for throughout the week, different times, so it's more flexible. And you're just either serving or bagging food for people in need. And then VR General was really cool. I did that over the summer, and I was able to shadow a dietitian as I volunteered. So you get to shadow do physical therapy or just different information desks, if that's more for you. And that one, the only requirement is it's less flexible. You have to do 1 4-hour shift per week for the full semester. And then conversations to remember, we have the flyer QR code. To get more information, you sign up for that one. And they just pair you up with a senior citizen who's in need of a companion to talk to. You do that for up to an hour, and you do it with 2 to 3 volunteers also, so you can network with other. And it's a great way to get communication skills for future professionals.
And that's where to find all the volunteer opportunities. There's a Google Docs that we made. It goes into detail with all of the information so you guys can scan that and you'll have like different volunteer opportunities.
We're going to try to continue to post different opportunities throughout the year. It's just one big list, and we'll look at it now. And then if you have any volunteer programs that you know of that you'd love to share with the club, just let me, either me, Ariana, or Dr. Henry know, and we can get them all at once.
Alright, and then last year we had the internship and graduate program fair. This year we're gonna be having it again. It's gonna be on November 7th. Still not sure where we're gonna be having it at.
It's probably gonna be the
In the
again, so
lounge.
we'll see.
Okay, so probably in Nap Hall Lounge, but that's a good way to meet up with the program coordinators and then also some grad students, or people doing their internship like Abby was whenever she was at Tulane. Alright, volunteer experience, just talked about that, but whenever you do volunteer, don't forget to fill out the form and include pictures. Alright, and then the FNC scholarship recipients are Cameron, and then Beverly. Is Beverly here? No. Okay. And then our member of the month is gonna be Miss Cameron. Woo! And that's it. Thank you for attending. Thank you for being our guest speaker. I think that's it. Does anybody have questions? Comments? T-shirts, we're still trying to decide which company we're gonna go with. We do have 2 options. Stay tuned for that. And then give back night. If y'all have any places you'd like to recommend, we would love to hear them because we're having issues. But that's it.
We're gonna have some giveaways here for Brooke. Pick a number between 1 and 8. Yay! You can pick from the mystery box. There's like a virus mouse. There's this water bottle. There's this water bottle. There's a luggage tray. There's a little thing that has a number. And then another one between 1 and 18. I'll get more goodies at Fancy that are better. The magic of my office. And like I said, there's stuff back there, flyers, random stuff. Please take it. I don't want
Okay, snacks. Also, I'm doing a survey on people who have medical and dietary restrictions, so food allergies, intolerances, or autoimmune disease. I have flyers in my bag. If you know anyone, or you personally have one, if you like fill it out, you can give it to someone into your business card, and then if you do the interview, you get a nice knockoff stamped envelope. So.
It is a